Thanks for letting us come out here, Steve. Really appreciate the time we spent on the phone, appreciate getting to learn a little bit more about Kaspersky Lab, and I've been excited to spend this time with you. We hope that you'll feel like it's interactive, you can ask questions or whatever. But real brief, we know we only have 30 minutes, we appreciate you carving out the time. Our agenda for today is very simply, we wanted to have an opportunity to introduce ourselves a little better, help you feel comfortable with who InsideSales.com is. We wanted to be able to share some of our lessons learned in the industry research that we've conducted. And then through the discussion, we hope to be able to assess whether or not there's a fit with what we can do and what you are trying to accomplish within your sales division. And then at the end of this, let's identify what the next steps are. We can get to that, but let's first help you feel comfortable with who we are. At a very high level, at the end of our discussion, I hope you'll walk away with the basic understanding that inside sales is all about revenue acceleration. I mean, literally, we're selling revenue to our partners. We have worked for years. We're now 10 years in business. In fact, I've written up here a few of the data points that talk a little bit about our experience. We have over 150 million profiles in our database, and we've aggregated up to 10 billion customer interactions, and that's growing at a rate of 2 billion a quarter now, and we've amassed over 1,500 customers. And the reason why I say that is I just want to maybe accentuate how much experience we have in the industry we play in. And to help you understand, before we get into our discussion, if I could draw up here for you a little bit about where inside sales plays, okay? So you have this industry called marketing automation. You're familiar with it. In our discussion, you shared how you guys use Marketo as a customer. And there's others out there, Eloqua, HubSpot, Trizetto. I mean, so you're familiar with those. That's all marketing automation, okay? And then really what marketing automation does is it produces leads for sales teams to put into their funnel. So this is my funnel here. At the bottom end of that funnel, you have the CRM space, or Salesforce automation. And you guys are using Salesforce.com, right?
Yes.
And so there's other players out there, Siebel, now Oracle, SAP, NetSuite, Microsoft Dynamics. There's a lot to play in that space. So this down here is that Salesforce automation. Well, there's this major gap historically between marketing automation and Salesforce automation called sales automation. And this is our market that we play in right now. Now there's point solutions out there. There's vendors out there that will sell you a dialer, or that will offer some other form of point solution to try and automate some of what salespeople do with their lead population and try and get it into their funnel. But there's a big gap, and Inside Sales is truly the only vendor in the space that offers a comprehensive platform approach. So there's a myriad of products that all relate to sales automation. We'll talk about that, but this is our marketplace right there. And then ultimately what we help is help organizations extract the maximum amount of value out of the leads that are being put into the funnel, so that they can generate as much as possible into that sales process, and hence yield as many customers and convert as much revenue as possible. That's really the end. But we're the steroids in the middle there that keeps everything together. Okay, so as we've talked to 1,500 customers and countless other prospects and whatnot, there's some things we've learned. And we can summarize challenges that we've observed in the industry a lot of different ways, but there's 3 critical challenges we see. We talk to businesses all day long that have a problem with aligning sales and marketing. There's a lot of finger pointing in some organizations. They're not unified in the vernacular and the sales speak, if you will, on some of those measurable contributors to their success. In addition to the alignment between sales and marketing, we see common challenges with sales effectiveness. We're talking about ability to make the right types of calls, the right number of calls, etc., and convert those into contacts and even into sales opportunities. And then even when there's a lot of hard work, or even sometimes some good alignment going on, there's a lack of visibility. Management is not aware and are not confident that they're getting the mileage out of their sales team that they feel like they should. And so to be a little bit more narrowed on that, let's just talk about that. Inside Sales brings a platform of solutions to the table, and we approach it through 3 different levers, if you will. The first one is people. And to talk specifically about people, organizations struggle on a daily basis with hiring, making sure that their teams scale appropriately, and not just getting the bodies in the seats, but predicting performance. So let me put that down there. In other words, are they hiring the game changers? Are they hiring people that are going to be at or above quota? And then thirdly, which is often a blind spot for a lot of organizations, is the turnover. The cost of turnover. What it takes to replace those that leave after they've invested countless dollars and time and effort into the training of their people. The second lever that we significantly affect is performance. And so, specifically about performance, I kind of alluded to it already, but we talk to people all day long that do not feel confident that they're getting the right volume of calls or even emails, the right volume of communications to their prospect pool. And then not only the volume of those, but again, the conversion into contacts, right? So what is the number of contacts that they're getting? And most importantly, what are they able to convert of those contacts into real sales pipeline? So these are all key. And I'll just get even a little bit more specific. One in particular is the lead response time. So, we talk to organizations, let's see, responsiveness. We talk to organizations all the time, and we ask them, what is the average time it takes their sales team to get back to leads? And they'll give us, usually somewhere around 48 hours or whatever. When we learn through our evaluation and our assessment, when we come in and provide some services to consult on this, we learn that they're normally hugely mistaken, and that their sales team, if they're even getting to all of their leads, are getting to them takes a lot longer than what they believe. And the third lever that we pull is with the prospects. So specifically when you're talking about prospects, now we're starting to talk about who, of all these people that are in this lead pool, the marketing automation folks are pumping into the system, who should they be calling? Who should they be spending their time on? And not only, who, but when is it optimal for them to be reaching out to them? What time of day, what day of week, based on all the different variables that influence that professional's life. And then, even the how. Is it better on an email? Is it better on a phone call? What type of emails should they be spending? The automation of emails that can kind of be templated and then personalized at a deeper level, voice messages. So not just the who and when, but the how. Now, when you and I spoke the other day, you shared with me that you've only been on board for 90 days, and I get that. And you didn't have yet a feel for some of these metrics. Were you able to take some time and quantify maybe the number of calls your reps are making, the number of contacts?
Absolutely. We found, after running a couple of reports, had my managers help me, that we're making around 50 calls a day per rep. Right on. And that we were making, out of the 50 calls a day per rep, we're making roughly 7 to 8% contact rate.
Okay.
So somewhere between 3 and 4. Probably total a day of people that we're speaking with, and then conversion rates were 2 to 3%. So more like 1 to, let's call it 1.5% that we're converting.
Okay, perfect. I'm really glad you were able to get those details. Now, one thing you had mentioned was you said that you were already aware of a blind spot. Your reps have, they might be calling and they might be leaving voice messages, but of the customer, the prospect base they're going after, you don't have visibility into their behavior when they're not on the phone with your team. And so, are they going to your website? Are they even opening up the emails? That customer behavior, or that prospect behavior, if you will, your own term was, it was a blind spot. Are there any other blind spots that we've that you'd like to add to that you've been thinking about?
Well, since we talked last time, one thing that you mentioned was just response rate.
Okay.
And I checked with my team, and we're somewhere between, 2 to 4 days. Like you mentioned before, I think you said something like 1.7% was the industry average, and we're probably a little bit more than that, but not doing great. And we really are, now that I've looked into it, we're 20% inbound lead and 80% outbound dialing off of lists is our current mix and blend of what we spend taking inbound calls versus inbound leads versus dialing outbound.
Okay, so let's pause for a minute. I'm sure, if you're like me and I've led sales teams before, there's this many and more metrics that we could dissect. But let's just take these for a starting point, and let's talk about where you would like to see it tomorrow.
One question that you asked me earlier when we talked we finished last year at 12 million.
In your division?
In our division, in our inside sales division, we finished last year at 12 million, and we've been tasked with a growth to 18 million, which is a pretty aggressive growth path for this coming year.
Okay, so 50% growth, right?
Yep.
Formidable, for sure. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the particulars, the effectiveness that it's going to take. In order to get visibility to how you're going to get to that 18 million, where do you think you need to be as far as the number of calls?
I would say we probably got to be double what we're doing now, so we got to have to bump that number to more like 100 outbound, 100 dials and calls per day, per rep.
Okay. And the number of contacts? Or do you want to just take the same waterfall and the same ratios?
That's fine. I would say we need to be somewhere around 15% on contact rate. And when you said double or triple, I figured, hey, let's be conservative. Let's look at doubling that. Conversions, if we could get to 3 to 5%, that seemed, realistic to me in terms of overall conversions. And one of the things that we're doing to hopefully grow that number is, based on our prior call, there's no way we can hit our number unless we grow our inbound lead. So, we're trying to reallocate some money right now to grow our inbound leads and hopefully get to some like a 60-40 blend.
Okay.
Where right now we're at 20-80 and get to more like 40% inbound and 60% outbound.
So the target of 40 and 80 or 60 over here. Clean that up, otherwise it's going to bug me. Okay. What about the response rate?
Hoping you can tell me, but as fast as we can possibly get to them.
Yeah, and you get the point, and really the response rate, but also another related topic that I've kind of hinted to as far as the conversion of calls to contacts, the contact rate, and the conversion of contact rate to actual conversions or opportunity creation, if you will. With Inside Sales Solutions, we've had these types of lifts, and even more impressive across a myriad of enterprise class customers. I mean, Groupon credits Inside Sales with having increased the efficiency of a pretty young, immature sales organization by 50% just in their activity rates. We've got a customer called California Casualties that improved their conversion rates by 23%. And we've done business with Pinnacle, and once we ended up turning on our systems for them, we increased their activity rates, their number of calls by 300%. And not just that, but across the increased volume, we increased their contact rate by 50%. So they saw significant gains. They credited us with increasing their revenue by 30% within the first 90 days of that sales division. So there's a long list of customers, and in the follow-up, if we can get to where you want to be able to have some next steps and further discussions with us, I think with the right types of well,
if you want to add
needs or the needs assessment or the value assessment that we can bring up, where we can start to get predictive on what kind of rate increases we would have here.
If we could get to 3 to 5 minutes instead of 3 to 5 days on response rate,
Yeah.
I'm guessing that the one other thing that's going to help us get to hitting our number is we already had plans to hire, additional staff. I mean, to grow from, the 25 reps that we have now to something more like 50 by the end of the next year, I think is certainly in the cards. But when you wrote sales to marketing alignment up there as a common challenge, I got to be totally honest with you, that was the first thing that I noticed when I arrived, is that there was it seems like there was a wall of China between sales and marketing when I showed up here, and it's been built brick by brick over bad blood over a while, like the Hatfields and McCoys. And I think only one thing that I could think of that could help mend that fence is if that response rate goes way down and we can prove that those leads really are better as we get to them faster. I can only help but think that's going to mend the fence.
So let me just put down here, you're starting to talk a little bit about some of your strategies, and you haven't identified exactly how you'll achieve it, but you've targeted response rates as something that's going to go a long ways of aligning you with marketing. So if you guys can show marketing that you're taking full advantage of everything they're sending your way, that's going to be huge in the collaboration and the partnership.
And quite frankly, that may push us to do a specialized model more so than we have in the past, because I can't see us getting to every single lead that we're going to generate if guys